Are you looking to get business credit as a startup business? This video, you want to make sure to watch until the end. I'm giving you all of the game that you are going to need in order to get business credit even as a startup business. Let's get started. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about business credit for startup companies. This is a very popular topic because a lot of you are considered still to be a new or startup business. If you are within your first 2 years of business, you are still considered to be a newer business. Now, usually startup businesses are within their first year, and within the first 2 years, you're still considered to be a higher risk. Yes, banks would prefer to do business with businesses that are at least 2 years old. However, if you have at least a year's worth of business, maybe even 6 months, and the money can do the talking, by all means, my friend, you are going to need one of three things: either cash, collateral, or credit. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build business credit. You can use these same concepts to apply whether you are a startup business, a newer business, or even an established business. Let's get started. Who is this video for? We're going to be talking about business credit for those businesses that are considered startups. And again, startup businesses are within their first year of business. We are talking to those aspiring entrepreneurs that are not in business yet. And this is why it's so important for you to at least start your business now. Even though you are not ready to just dive right into business, start your business. Let it, get some age underneath it. It's the same concept if you were to buy a shelf corporation. Start your business, put it on ice. A lot of people start shelf corporations, they put them on a shelf to age, and then we buy them because we need the age for the business. Today, I'm telling you, start your business as soon as possible. You can use 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗏. I've left a link below for you to start your LLC or corporation. It's very inexpensive. You don't need any sort of experience. They will walk you through the entire process for a little bit of nothing. They will literally file all of your paperwork, including the IRS documentation that you will need to get your EIN number. The reason why I like 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗏 so much is because you literally have everything in the same location. 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗏 will help keep you organized, so when you are looking to open up business bank accounts or you need any of your corporate documentation, it's all inside of your portal. They'll even notify you when it's time to renew, file your annual documents, even renew your registered agent. You will get a year's worth of a free registered agent when you sign up to do your business with 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗏. So just another bonus there. This video is going to be for those seasoned business owners as well. Those that would like to scale their company by leveraging working capital and business credit. Okay, now we can always leverage more funds to grow and scale our business, and that's what credit is really for. You are going to gain the knowledge on how to position your business so you look good on paper, okay? In the eyes of the banks, we need to be very low risk and very high profitability, okay? The best trade lines that you can use to build up your business profiles and be able to, again, look good on paper. We're going to be covering the funding framework that you're going to need to follow if you want to scale your business faster. We're also going to be talking about the different methods that you can use to get a vehicle in your business name. Now, all of these things are literally going to blow your mind. So it's really important that you take notes, grab your pen, grab your paper. If you're not able to watch this entire video, I know it's long, but I put out a lot of masterclass so you guys can get this information and take action. I literally just had a call with someone who watches my YouTube. They subscribe to the business credit course, and they literally shared with me yesterday their story. And it was so powerful because they were able to get a $40,000 business line of credit. They were able to literally start following the blueprint in the course and be able to get business credit. And this, they said, was in a few months. They literally paid a little bit of nothing, less than $500 for my course, and were able to get a $40,000 business line of credit already. And they said they're just getting started. They're literally still following the blueprint. So that's how powerful this is. But you're going to be able to gain a ton of knowledge in this video. You can easily purchase my course in the links below, but you're going to understand how to get the best true cash value business credit lines, where to get no doc and low doc loans and business lines of credit, how to build your own network of business bankers for infinity funding, and so much more. My personal goal with today's video is to show you guys how to get business funding. Business funding can come a lot quicker than a lot of people might realize as long as you put in the work. I want to show you how to improve your business credit and increase your business's ability to grow faster by leveraging credit. Now let's talk about what you want to have in place so that way you can make sure that your foundation is set up solid. I always talk about the building process. This is not a step that you want to miss because even though you might not think that they're a big deal, you want to look good on paper. Your business name. Check to see if your business name is available. You can use namecheck.com, or if your Secretary of State's website has a free search, you can go over to the SOS website and just do a search to see if your business name that you want to register with the Secretary of State is available. How your business is set up definitely matters, and this goes back to the foundation. You want to make sure that you've selected the right structure for your business and your goals. You have a few different options that you can choose from. And if you use 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗴, you wanted to just select the best corporation that is going to be fit for your goals and your needs by either selecting an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, usually meant for multiple members to come together under a corporation, the S Corp, the C Corp, or the sole proprietorship. I would either recommend the LLC, S Corp, C Corp, and of course there's also the nonprofit. You can go that route as well. You want to set up your EIN number. This is also known as your tax ID number. Your EIN number is your employment identification number. Very similar to like a social security number on the personal side. This number can be filed when you are going through your 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀 setup. They'll offer you a package, I think it's around $99, and they can file to get your EIN for you, or you can just apply for free at the IRS website. You can also call them, but the process is free if you do it yourself. The reason why I like 𝗕𝗏𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗏 to do all of this for me is because obviously it saves me time, but I will also have all of the documentation inside of my portal where I can easily access it for keeping organized. Your EIN number is also what you're going to use to help build your business trade lines. You want to make sure that you have your operating agreement, also known as your membership agreement. This outlines the business financial and functionalities decisions, including regulations and provisions. you can actually pay ink-file to do a standard operating agreement for your business. And that's why I like them, because they can literally do all these documents for you and you can have them stored in your portal. You want to make sure that you get a business address. A business address might seem like, oh, it's no big deal, but you actually want to Google the address on Google to make sure that a real office location is showing up. You don't want a postal annex. You don't want to use any sort of Staples or a postal P.O. box company. You want to have a real office location. I recommend using Opus. It's $99 a month, and it also comes with a business telephone number. You can set up to receive business text messages. You have a live receptionist answering your telephone call and then transferring it to your cell phone number for only $99 a month. All of their business locations are real office locations, and I have been using Opus for over 15 years for other business ventures, and I've had nothing but great experiences with them. So I recommend Opus. There's a link below to get your business address and your business telephone number for only $99 a month using Opus. And if you use the code below, you can save $100 off of the setup fee with Opus because we are partnered with them. Here is a pro tip. You want to make sure that you are checking the address before you purchase it. Once you get the address that the office is located, you can go to the USPS website, uspostalservice.com, and you can make sure that that business address is not a mail receiving location. You will see on the USPS website, is this a mail receiving location? There will be a yes or a no. So you want to make sure that if the yes is selected, you know that this is now listed as a commercial mail receiving agency. And banks will downgrade your business if your business address is at a mail receiving company, because they pretty much know it's not a real business address. So double check that. But so far, I have not found any business locations that have been marked as a mail receiving agency when using Opus, because they actually use real office locations. You will just get a different suite number at that location, because multiple businesses can use this shared location as long as they have a different suite number, because oftentimes there is shared working space. If you have changed your address, you want to make sure that your address is updated everywhere. Your address matches online, it matches on the IRS website, it matches on the Secretary of State. When you do a Google search, a Bing search, Yelp search, whatever search someone finds you in, you want to make sure that your business information, business name, business address, business telephone number, business website, email, all of that business information is the same across the board. If you do need to update your address, make sure that you have done it in all of these different places, and then do a listing blast through manta.com or somewhere that does listings, so you can ensure that all of your listings are updated. And if you do have listings, log in and update those addresses. Do not apply for anything until all of your address updates have been made across the board. We want to make sure, especially the IRS address is updated and the Secretary of State address is updated. A lot of times you can update the Secretary of State right there on their website. If you do need to update with the IRS, you can download the form 8822-B for business, and you can fill that out and mail it to them. This is going to update your address as a business owner. You also want to make sure that you have a business telephone number. Like I mentioned before, Opus $99 a month service includes a business telephone number with a live receptionist to answer your phone. And this is exactly what I used when I was first starting out. And it's super professional because you actually have a live person answering for your office and then transferring them to your extension, or if you do not answer, your voicemail will populate, and usually it's to your cell phone number. So there's other options as well. There's Freedom Voice, which is a virtual phone system. There's Ring Central. I've used them before. Not bad if you have, people that need to monitor your phone system. There's also Vonage.com. That's another one that I've used. Freedom Voice. So these can all be set up. And then of course, if you just don't have the budget or you really just don't need it, I recommend just using Opus through your virtual office. So here's another pro tip. You can actually open or switch phone lines to a business using your EIN. So Verizon is a great place for you to open up a business telephone number, and you can usually transfer telephone numbers to them. Even when you outgrow, say, Opus, you can transfer that phone number to another carrier. I actually did that several times. I transferred my original business phone number to another carrier and another carrier. And then eventually all that we were getting was a bunch of spam calls. So we moved our phone number over to our CRM. So it's been a process, but I'll tell you, you can definitely transfer out of companies. Just have to fill out the form to transfer the phone number. But Verizon reports as a trade line to Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and can be a non-personal guarantee with up to a $3,500 line of credit. So you will need to get an account manager, and you will need to go through the small business account manager in order for you to apply. They have a completely different business section. Your business email and online presence. You want to make sure that you have a professional business address, something like info@yourdomain.com, support@nicholescott.com. You do not want to have a Gmail, a Yahoo, or an AOL email address. It's just, it's not looked at as the same. It's not professional. You want to have an email address that matches your website. You want to make sure you have a professional website. I recommend Wix. And in my course, I actually walk you through how to create a website using Wix. They have different templates that you can use and just edit them. And you can literally use AI to generate the content that's on your website, and you will actually own that data. You're just paying Wix to host it, and you're paying for a domain name. So I recommend having at least a professional website and some social media presence set up, something like Facebook, a Facebook page, an Instagram page, LinkedIn, wherever is best fit for your business. You want to definitely have your website and some sort of social media presence. You also want to list yourself online. You can list yourself on listyourself.net, yext.com, Bing, Google My Business. You can use listing services like Manta. Inside my course, I've got a whole section on places where you need to list your business. Yelp, that's another one that shows up in the search engines. So make sure that if someone were to do a simple search on your business, you're going to show up. You want to make sure that you have a business bank account. This is where you're going to build relationships with local, regional, and national banks. You want to start building relationships with the commercial business professionals in that branch. Send them coffee, send them cards, go visit them, build a genuine relationship with these people at the banks because they know what's up. Okay, I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but it is so important for you guys to understand the value of relationships with these business bankers, or as some people call them, relationship managers. High risk industries. Your business should be bucketed by the correct codes. Some codes are considered to be high risk. When we're talking about codes, we're talking about NAICS codes. So you want to make sure that your NAICS code is set up properly so you're not listed as a high risk industry. Your business could be bucketed incorrectly if your NAICS code is listed as high risk. You want to optimize both your business name and the NAICS code so you are not high risk. People do not need to know what you do based on your business name. So instead of saying something like creditrepair.com, you want to say, something, like just general, something enterprises, Scott Enterprises. A lot of people like to incorporate their name, and honestly, I'm huge on that. So Nicole Scott Enterprises, Bay Area Wave Enterprises, something that is going to be very general and you're not going to know exactly what your business does by your business name. I recommend incorporating your name, branding yourself, because as a personal business, people are doing business with you, okay? So you want to make sure that you are low risk. You want to make sure that you've optimized your business name and your NAICS code, and make sure that it is updated everywhere and you have the correct NAICS code listed in your business profiles with Dun & Bradstreet and Experian and Equifax. Here are some high-risk industry types: money lending, trucking, restaurants, real estate development, fix and flips, adult industries, gambling, casinos, liquor, tobacco, cannabis shops, dry cleaners, auto rental companies, not to mention credit repair is also a very high risk. Anything credit related, some banks want nothing to do with it. So I do recommend having some sort of backup website if you are in any sort of high risk industry, so you can choose a low risk alternative when it comes to getting funding. Some low risk alternatives are general management, construction, real estate, auto rentals, property management, as far as like fix and flips, Airbnb, construction, consulting services for owner agencies and financial services. So those are definitely some alternatives that you guys can choose. Business, general business services, NEC, electronic shopping and mail orders, logistics, that's one that I like to use. Logistics and general business services, consulting. I love using anything consulting because that's low risk. Some of the low risk NAICS code that you guys can select based on what would be most applicable to your business are the general management and consulting, and then the electronic shopping and mail order. Here are two routes for funding and business credit. Route one is going to be the no PG EIN only, which is, in my opinion, slowly dying out and less relative. Route two is the PG. PG's personal guarantee. This route is going to be a lot faster, and you're going to be able to leverage your personal credit to build business credit a lot quicker. The number one question is, which route is going to be best for you? Now you got to ask yourself, is non-PG the best for you? This is going to mean that your business is going to spend more on inventory based on, may say, government contracts. You're working on your credit, so your credit score is under 650. You want to get vehicles approvals solely through your business credit, and you're okay waiting 6 to 12 months before going unsecured for some trade lines. Now, generating over $2 million a year is also going to qualify you for true corporate credit. So that's another way to bypass the PG. Let's talk about no PG EIN only, some pros and some cons. Now let's talk about the pros. Now, the pros are you're not as reliant on your personal credit, and it's okay to have bad credit when you go the EIN only route, right? Approvals are based on the business credit and the business structure, so that's great. And the better for separating your personal from your business. You can make PG requirements away with cash deposits. And like I said before, you're going to need one of the three, either credit, collateral, or cash. And if you don't have one of those, it's most likely not the right time for you. EIN only also helps build out your business credit scores evenly, so you can easily start building up more online payments and trade lines under your business credit. Some of the cons are that you will have limited access to business funding because most actual cash funding is going to be a personal guarantee if your business revenue is under $2 million. Some of the additional cons are you have to wait 6 to 12 months before some products can go unsecured. And of course, most trade lines aren't the real cash value. They're more or less vendor accounts or supplies. A lot of people that build up strong business credit are businesses that are heavily dependent on vendors and suppliers because they have to buy a lot of merchandise. Maybe they have government contracts. Maybe they are construction workers who spend a lot of money on supplies. And of course, they would build relationships with vendors, and they can, get better pricing based on volume and have better terms based on relationships. So those things are very important, but not all of those type of suppliers report to business credit. So that's another thing to consider. Now, is PG going to be the right way for you? It really just depends on, if you have good credit right now, you might as well leverage your personal credit. If you have at least a 700 credit score, I would definitely recommend leveraging your personal credit and providing PGs to fast track your business credit versus going the non-PG route. Because again, you're going to get better terms, you're going to be less risky. If you don't have the cash or the collateral, you're going to need the credit. So it'll help because honestly, you're going to be able to get better credit cards and credit products by providing a PG, but you will need to make sure that your personal credit is at least a 700. You will get access to funding in the next 30 to 60 days versus 6 to 12 months because, of course, when you're providing a personal guarantee, it's a lot easier. And of course, you have to be okay with putting your personal credit on the line because at the end of the day, if for some reason the business defaults on this debt, you are going to be personally liable for this debt. Now, PG is the fastest way to build business credit and, in my opinion, the most efficient because if your business isn't really a supplier or any sort of business that uses a lot of supply, then it's really tough because in order to build business credit, you have to buy things, you have to pay things, you have to buy things, you have to pay things, and you have to buy things from places and vendors and suppliers that actually report your business transactions to the business credit bureaus. Not everyone does, and if they do, not every vendor is going to report to every single credit bureau. So at the end of the day, it really makes sense to be able to work on your personal credit. You can start building business credit, but eventually you will run into roadblocks and you will need to provide a personal guarantee if you're making less than $2 million a year in revenue. So PG is the fastest way, and some of the pros are you're going to be able to access real cash funding, meaning credit cards, business lines of credit, and actual funding by using a PG, which in other words would be very limited to you. You're going to have access to far more credit products with lenders and banks because all major banks and lenders are going to require a PG. You can get business credit approved as a startup business. If you have a good personal credit score, I have literally seen startup businesses that just started their business get business credit cards and business lines of credit on day one as a startup business. Some of the cons are now you really do need a personal credit score that is pretty, well put together, structured, strong, no late payments, no derogatories, low inquiries, low risk, high credit score, 700 plus, 720, 750. Banks are really tightening up their requirements as far as credit goes because they don't want to take on as much risk. And those consumers that do have a credit score lower than 700 have been found to be much more riskier than those that have a 720 plus. That's just the way it goes, right? So the cons are, the accounts link back to your social security number and your personal name. And if the business defaults, of course, you're going to be on the hook for that. And it could potentially report to your personal credit if it defaults and goes to collections and goes through that whole process. It's not a guaranteed, but, it is a possibility. Route 1 breakdown, EIN method only is going to be, the main players as far as business credit is concerned. Dun & Bradstreet, Experian Commercial, Equifax Business, and the Small Business Financial Exchange, which is also known as the SBFE. Now, we actually sell business credit trade lines that report to Experian and the SBFE. So if you are interested in adding trade lines to your business credit to help enhance your business credit, make sure to visit the links below and you can check out some of our packages. There are vendor trade accounts. For example, Net 30 accounts. There's a lot of commercial accounts that will report to your business bureaus and help you establish your credit with these said bureaus. Now, keep in mind, the more on-time payments that are reported, the better for you, because the more trade lines that you can have to show your ability to repay back debt as agreed, the less risky you are. And generally, a lot of these business credit reporting agencies, your score will go up to 100. It's really, best to be right in that 80 range as far as Dun & Bradstreet, your paydex score. So you just want to make sure the more positive trade lines you have, obviously the better off you're going to be. And the more places that you can actually do business with that report to these business bureaus, the better. First, we have Dun & Bradstreet. You're going to acquire your DUNS number, and your DUNS number is going to be basically your account number with Dun & Bradstreet. And then once you get trade lines reported to Dun & Bradstreet, you're going to generate what's known as a paydex score. Your paydex score is your credit score with Dun & Bradstreet. And generally, you're going to need anywhere between 3 and 5 accounts reported paid as agreed to generate anywhere from, an 80 to 100 paydex score. Anywhere from 80 to 100 is great. An 80 paydex score is pretty standard. And once you generate 3 to 5 on-time payments, then your paydex score is generated automatically, okay? You might get your paydex score once you have, established those accounts and everything has reported. Some companies don't always report to Dun & Bradstreet, so you just want to make sure that you're aware who's reporting where. Now, you'll be able to get funding using Dun & Bradstreet. There's different types of funding. There's vendor funding. There's, auto loans. There's different types of funding. So you just have to understand the different terms that would be available for you. But you will be able to get funding without having to PG if you build up a strong enough Dun & Bradstreet credit profile. You do not have to pay for trade lines from Dun & Bradstreet. The only way that I would really recommend to add trade lines using their credit builder program is if you've truly done business with different vendors and have large trade lines that would be beneficial to add, and that vendor is actually registered and has a DUNS number with Dun & Bradstreet, because in order for you to add a business trade line to your business credit report, that business will need to have a DUNS number so you can put that on the application when you are adding them as a verified resource or payment for your business. So if you've done business with someone and they're like, well, we don't report, but you can certainly report our business transactions because maybe you have a net 30 or a net 90 account with them. As long as they're registered with Dun & Bradstreet and have their DUNS number, you can manually add them, but you will have to subscribe to the credit builder program with Dun & Bradstreet. And I believe, it's, a couple $100 a month. I'm not sure anymore. They are always changing it. But if it's beneficial for you, then hey, by all means, do it. Now, here is a pro tip. Each account that is reported is considered to be a payment experience. The more payment experiences you have as a business, the more credible you are, the more likely other vendors and other creditors are going to trust that you are credible and that you are not a risk, right? To double the speed of building business credit, you want to add vendors and accounts and creditors that report to multiple business bureaus so you can fast track your business credit. Now, for example, NAV, that's a great way to kind of monitor your business and use it as a trade line. You can use the link below to sign up for NAV and use their business credit loan program to build business credit and to also get business credit monitoring. It's a great way to just establish yourself. I recommend keeping it anywhere from 3 to 8 months, just kind of depending on where you're at with everything. Experian and Equifax business. Now, here are some of the pro tips that you should really consider when it comes down to Experian and Equifax. Now, typically, this is where a lot of the financial accounts like business credit cards report to. Business credit cards and banks, like major banks, do not necessarily pull from nor report to Dun & Bradstreet. Dun & Bradstreet is primarily vendors, suppliers, property management. Equifax and Experian are more or less banks. So you'll see a lot more financial institutions, credit unions, different banks that actually are going to be pulling from either Experian or Equifax business. There's even banks that are going to be pulling from SBFE. I just had a client apply for Truist. They pulled from Equifax Business and Equifax Personal. I had another client that actually got some trade lines, business trade lines from us, and they got approved with PNC. They pulled from SBFE. Now, they did have a personal credit of 720, so that, of course, is going to require a PG as well. Banks sometimes check both personal and business credit profile to determine your credit worthiness. So auto dealers and banks, they're going to approve your non-PG scores with usually either Experian, Equifax, or Dun & Bradstreet. Banks and creditors are more likely to approve your non-PG application if your business credit scores are high. So for example, Experian goes from 1 to 100, Equifax is 224 to 580. You want to have as high of a business credit score as possible. And again, the way that you get this, it's just by adding more trade references and payment experiences to your profile so you become a credible business. Route 2. This is where we're going to break down the PG method. This is the way to definitely fast track your business credit as a startup. Now, you can get 4 times to 5 times the amount of your strongest personal credit card in literally under 2 weeks. So if you have higher limit personal credit cards, it is going to help you get higher limit business credit cards. Let's go over the requirements. You want to have at least a 675 baseline credit score. You need to have at least a $2,000 credit card limit. You need to have 3 or more credit cards with actual banks that are in your name that belong to you. Capital One, that's popular for people just starting out. Discover, Bank of America, all of these grade A banks are wonderful. Navy Federal, of course. But you want to have at least 3 or more cards with banks. Your credit history should be at least 3 years old. We prefer to be at that 5-year range, but 3 years will do. If you do need to add trade lines to your personal credit, I also offer personal credit trade lines. I'll leave a link below so you can add larger limits to your profile and history to your profile to help build your personal credit. Now, I've done an entire masterclass on trade lines. I've left a link below to watch that video to help you enhance your credit profile using personal authorized user trade lines. We want your personal credit utilization to be below 25%. You should not have balances on more than a couple cards, and each of those individual cards should have lower than a 25% utilization, preferably under 10%, but you can be up to 25. When you are going after funding, you want to make sure that you have optimized your credit profile so that way you can get the best terms. No charge-offs, no collections. Less than 4 inquiries in the last 6 months, and no late payments in the last 24 months. Let's talk about the breakdown of your personal credit score. Your personal credit score is made up of 5 different factors. Number 1 is your ability to pay debts on time. This is super important for not only business, but the personal as well. Your ability to pay debt as agreed is 35% of your FICO credit score. So it's extremely important that you pay all of your credit obligations that report to your personal credit and to your business credit on time. Set up auto pay. It's part of adulting. I know it's not fun. We don't always trust it, but please believe me when I tell you, you can set up auto pay for the minimum amount due so you ensure that you never get a late payment. 30% of our FICO credit score is made up from credit utilization. This is the amount of available credit card and revolving lines of credit that you have compared to what you actually owe. So if your credit utilization, you have $1,000 credit card limit and you want to keep your utilization low, you need to keep it under 10%. Under 10% of 1,000 is $100. So it's really not that much. The higher limits, the more flexibility that you have. If you have a $10,000 card, you just want to keep that balance below $1,000. So it's very important that you keep your overall credit utilization really low, and you really want to keep that under 10%. That is the goal. So that's why adding more available credit to your credit profile is going to help enhance your credit profile. Now, 15% of your FICO is made up from your credit history. This goes back to your average age of accounts that are on your credit profile. If you add more history to your credit, meaning you add authorized users with a longer history, that will in return make your overall credit history go up, which generally makes your credit score go up. 10% is new credit in your credit mixture. New credit are the number of inquiries and new credit accounts that you've received in the last 6, 12, and 24 months. And of course, your credit mix, it just goes to show that you are able to manage different types of debt properly. So there's revolving lines of credit, which are your credit cards and your lines of credit. And then there's installment loans, which are like your student loans, your mortgages for your home, any sort of installment where you pay the same amount of money until that loan is paid off. Personal loans, any sort of installment loan, you want to have a nice mixture of both. The good kind of mixture to have is anywhere between 5 to 10 credit cards or revolving lines of credit and 2 to 4 installment lines listed on your credit profile. That would make up the perfect mixture. And in those installments, you want some sort of property installment. You can add your rent to your credit profile, or if you have a mortgage, that'll do fine as well. In order for you to get to an 850 credit score, you really would need to have a very strong payment history, a low amount of debt owed, a decent credit history. You want to have a nice credit mix and low amount of new credit. So these are the overall numbers of what you would need as far as getting an 850 credit score. You don't necessarily need it. I would say for now, the goal is to get to 750. There are 3 main funding options. There is what's called full doc loans, and this kind of is self-explanatory. This is where you provide a ton of documentation. You're going to be providing the last 2 years worth of tax returns, bank statements, W-2s, pay stubs, profit and loss statements, business paperwork, EIN numbers, tax ID information, articles of incorporation. You might need even a certificate of good standing from the Secretary of State. So there's a lot of documents that are required. Generally, this is going to be where you are with getting cash funding or any sort of funding from the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. A lot of loan funding programs are backed by the SBA, even with small banks. So if you are qualified, I highly recommend SBA funding options. Now we have our low doc loans. This is going to be low documentation, some documentation, but not, the whole horse and carriage, right? Usually this is going to require somewhere around 1 year's worth of tax returns, bank statements, W-2. They may ask for personal and business bank statements for the last 3 to 6 months. They're going to ask for your profit and loss statement And of course, you're going to need your standard business paperwork, including your articles of incorporation. And then of course, there's what a lot of people love to talk about, me included, which are no doc loans. And this is exactly what, it appears to be. This is where no documents are going to be required in order for you to get approved. So this is based off stated income or projected revenue. It is going to require a personal credit because, again, we talked about you're going to need one of those three things. One of those three C's: cash, collateral, or credit. And the easiest and fastest way for a startup is to use their credit, okay? You just need a good personal credit of at least 7 to 720. You're going to need your business paperwork. That's why I always recommend using InkFile to file it, because you'll have everything at your fingertips whenever you need it. And it works best when the relationship is already in place. So if you have a relationship with a bank, I would recommend going to that bank and applying for their credit products. Like the class that I did on Navy Federal, that's a perfect example of a relationship bank. But they're not the only bank. There's plenty others out there. This honestly is also the best option for a brand new business with very little to no revenue. You can still get business credit cards and business lines of credit with no docs. This means that they're not going to require any sort of bank statements, W-2s, tax returns, or anything like that. So it makes the approval process really fast and easy as long as you have a good personal credit score. Now let's talk about how to prioritize banks for funding rounds. Banks that are relationship based are going to be your most effective way to get funding, especially when you don't have the best credit score. So exactly how I went over how to build a relationship with Navy Federal in my Navy Federal Masterclass, you want to use this same concept and apply it to other credit unions, regional banks, local banks, especially those that have no doc funding programs. The little hidden gems are honestly the best banks, and those are generally going to be your local and community banks. You want to make sure that you're on the prowl for banks that issue 0% APR business credit cards with no or low document products, especially those that go up to $50K and no doc funding. Generally, a bank will go up to $50K and not require any docs. So when you go to the bank, you want to just ask them, hey, what type of no document loan products do you offer for small business owners? You want to go after banks with business credit cards and business credit products like lines of credit that offer a pre-approval or will let you know that, hey, we've got an offer for you. Let's try to get you pre-approved. So there's no hard inquiry unless you've accepted the offer. You want to go to banks where you've built a business banking relationship with them. You have a business bank account and you are using the most liquidity in the business bank account. Business bank rating. Your business bank rating is based on your average daily minimum balance over the last 90 days. So when you're opening a brand new business banking account, I recommend going with any sort of heavy deposit and leaving that money in there to marinate over a 90-day period. Here's how the bank rating account balances work. Our goal is to be as high as possible. So even if you are a high 4, 7,000 to 9,999, that's great. Or if you want to be a low 5, mid 5, or high 5, obviously those are great places to be at as well. It's really just going to depend about how much you can honestly afford to put in these business bank accounts without affecting you in a negative manner. You want to leverage local and mid-size and big banks through geo-restriction loopholes. And what I mean by this is a lot of banks will require you to be a local resident or a local business in order for them to serve you. So setting up a foreign entity in a state where a bank has their footprint is a great way to bypass that geo-restriction. And again, you can set all of this up using InkFile, and you can use Opus to get your virtual business location and business address. You can also bypass this by donating to a charity of the bank's choice. Typically, this is popular with credit unions. Opening a personal checking account online first is always recommended because you always want to start on the personal side and then venture over to the business side. Oftentimes, a lot of credit unions will require you to have a personal account in good standing in order for them to offer you a business account. Having a business address within 50 miles of that bank branch location is also going to help. You want to open up a business bank account with a business banker or a banking relationship manager, and you want to have them push through your application. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these business relationship managers, they're going to know the ins and outs of how to fill out an application, what the underwriters want to see, what they don't want to see. They might not tell you it in black and white, but you can kind of read between the lines sometimes, especially when you have a good relationship with them and they're like, no, that's not what we want to say. Let's do this, right? Come out of the metaverse for a little bit. Build a relationship with these commercial bankers, take them to lunch, send them some Starbucks, give them gift cards, send them birthday cards, send them Christmas cards, schmooze them up, and build a real long-lasting relationship where they are going to want to help you. Come and visit them, buy them lunch, take them to dinner, do things with them that make them feel special so you can build a relationship with them and have them help you acquire more funding for your business so you can grow and scale your business. That's what banks are for. This is what they were developed for. They only make money when they lend money. There are people out there that are getting up to $155,000 with US Bank with no documents. So there was an associate that we are aware of that got approved for a $35,000 business platinum card at a 0% interest for 12 months. Plus, they got $120,000 equipment finance loan, completely no doc, even though his business was just outside of the banking footprint through a business relationship banker. So that's why it's always super important for you to build that relationship with the banking relationship manager and have them put through your application manually. These are really important to your business because honestly, these are the guys that are the middlemen between us and the underwriters. They know what deals are getting approved, what deals are getting denied. They are going to help process your application manually. So that way you can fill everything out via DocuSign versus regular algorithm-driven online applications. You want to go through a business relationship manager. They are the ones that have the direct access to the bank's data points and the underwriting department, and of course relationships with people in the underwriting department, because the more loans and lines of credit and banking credit products that they can get approved, the better for them. They have a quota that they have to meet as well. And of course, working with them is like building a team. We all need a good banker on our team, just like we need a good CPA. You can get access to funding and different credit products that are not necessarily advertised to the general public. That's why these relationships are so important, because you can literally tell them what you need and what you're looking to get, and they can see what type of products are going to be best fit for your needs and your goals. This just means that there's more money and less competition for you. Business bankers can also help set up your file accordingly and help you bypass a lot of the bank rules that normal people wouldn't qualify for if they were just applying online. Chase is a perfect example of that 524 rule, where if you apply for more than 5 cards in the last 24 months, you will not qualify for another credit card with them. Now, you can bypass this via the backdoor method by just going through a relationship manager and having them push through your application manually to the underwriting department versus using that online algorithm. Our associates and their partner get access to 4 Business Inc. cards for their same business and bypass the 524 rule. And of course, that's because the more things that they can get approved, the better. They have a quota that they have to hit. Banks only make money when they lend money. So obviously their goal is to get more funds approved. That's why these relationships are so important. You can literally build your own network of business bankers and create infinity banking by literally leveraging banking relationship managers, asking to speak with the business banker, actually coming out of this so-called online world that we live in and building up relationships with business bankers inside of your local branches. They're also called relationship managers. You want to know where these relationship managers hang out and definitely get in good with them. And if that means attending networking events, so be it. You want to make sure that when you are talking to a relationship manager, you know your stuff, okay? You are confident in when you speak about business, you know your projected revenue numbers, you know your stuff. You have the proper licensing that is required for your business, you have all the documentations, business plans, etc. Nowadays, you can even use AI to write you a simple business plan. The next thing is just let the money do the talking for you. If you have heavy deposits in your account, which I highly recommend, you can let that do the talking for you. Getting vehicles through your business. This is a very popular topic because a lot of people always ask me how they can get a vehicle with no personal guarantee. Method number one is transfer. If you want to refinance a vehicle from your personal name over to your business name, and of course this is better to get approved for home loans, for faster processing you can PG it, but it will help in the future for non-PG purchases with cars now that you have in the business column. So you can actually refinance personal cars over to the business using Bank of America. You can have up to 4 vehicles per corporation or LLC. Navy Federal, there's also Truist. So you can actually refinance vehicles that are in your personal name over to the business. Sometimes the financing is not 100%, so you just have to understand what the terms are when you get approved. You want to make sure that if you are transferring, the vehicle is eligible for their refinance program. Method number 2, this is mainly used for luxury vehicles. So this is going to be non-PG and a PG method. It's best for established businesses. When you're at the dealership, you want to ask for the commercial financing or fleet manager. You want to speak to the manager, the financing manager or the fleet manager, to make sure that you do not have to deal with any sort of middleman, because the salesperson is not going to know anything about the commercial lending side. And honestly, most people in the finance department know little to none about the commercial side as well. So that's why it's important for you to deal with either the fleet manager who specializes in commercial lending or the finance manager who knows how to submit a commercial vehicle deal. They might ask you for 2 years worth of tax returns. They also might ask for 3 to 6 months worth of bank statements. If you want to try to avoid that, I would try to get outside financing from Bank of America, Truist, or Navy Fed. Now you can bypass a lot of the documentation by having an established business credit profile, and you will need to have at least 8 trade accounts reporting to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian Business in order for lenders to find you credible. Now you can apply through a dealership to Ally Financial, which is a non-PG auto loan. Now you will pay a higher interest rate, but it will not require you to use your personal credit, nor will it report to your personal credit. Bank of America, Truist, and Navy Federal, those do not report to your personal credit either, but they do require a personal guarantee. And generally speaking, Bank of America will require at least a 700 credit score. I have a video on that. The others might approve you at a lower credit score, but I wouldn't necessarily bank on anything lower than 670. Usually it's around 670, 680 is kind of that point where I'm seeing a lot of people approved. On their website, you actually have to find a dealership in your area that offers commercial lending through Ally. Go and deal with the finance manager on the commercial side. If you want to bypass that, you can literally just call and email the finance manager on the commercial side at the dealership for them to just send you the paperwork, so you really don't need to do much of anything, and there's no hassling you while you're at the car dealer. You can literally act like you are, a busy business owner. You conduct business via email only, and they can do everything via DocuSign. Method number 3, leverage credit to not PG. So this way you can actually use business credit cards and business lines of credit to purchase the vehicle. You will have to be able to hold the title now without having to pay for the vehicle all cash, but you can use this method at vehicle auctions and private sellers to literally buy vehicles and money-making assets with credit cards and lines of credit. Now, if you stuck around this long, I highly appreciate you watching, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to business credit for startups. Like I mentioned before, I've had several clients that have had nothing but great success, but you have to put the work in. You have to study and you have to execute. You have to build and build and build, and honestly, it comes a lot quicker than a lot of people expect, but you have to be willing to put the work in. So I do have a business credit course that literally walks you through, because a good rule of thumb in general is to have 5 to 7 trade lines from each tier. 5 to 7 from tier 1, 5 to 7 from tier 2, 5 to 7 from tier 3. The more on-time payments that you have reported, the more credible you are as a business. It really just boils down to, hey, are we going to be able to trust this person? Yes or no? Have they shown their ability to repay back debt as agreed? Yes or no? The more on-time payments that have reported your trade experience as on time or, sufficient, then of course that makes you a more credible business owner. So if you haven't by now, make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know your story in regards to being a startup and acquiring business credit. I know it can be tough. I know it can feel like there's just never a light at the end of the tunnel, but I promise you there is. And I have been there myself as a brand new business, getting told no because I just hadn't been in business for long enough. So that's why I always tell you guys, even if you're not ready to conduct business right now, this year or next year, start your business, keep it in good standing, let it age, put it on ice, and then when you are ready to use it, it will be there for you. You can also start multiple businesses in different territories so you can gauge different banks and target different banks to get funding, like Truist. I am not in their geographic area because I'm in California, so I can actually open up an entity in a different territory using 𝗕𝗂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀, getting a virtual office, and then acquire credit with them. So there are ways around it. You guys just have to kind of think outside of the box. Of course, we're not saying, do anything crazy illegal or anything like that, but just understand whatever you acquire in credit, you need a plan to be able to pay it back. So this is not just free money. This is money that you will have to use responsibly to grow your business and to make sure that you're making those right moves. So if you haven't by now, make sure that you've watched the Navy Federal Masterclass and the Tradeline video. You can find all of the links below in the description. Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Watch the playlist coming up next.